All right, I'm back and I have the girl file opened again with no changes made to it. I'm back at the original file and I just want to share a few more tools, and we're going to actually work with these on duplicate layers of the background so that it's non-destructive. We can always get rid of the layer. So come into your background layer and do a Command J or duplicate your layer however you would like. And on this duplicate layer, we're going to come over to our tools. Below the gradient tool, we're going to come over to the, well, it looks like a smudgy finger, or it looks like one of these, depending on which is active. We have a blur tool, a sharpen tool, and a smudge tool. I'm going to start with the blur tool, and I'm going to make my cursor large, and it's going to do pretty much what you think it's going to do. It is going to blur the pixels underneath it. So if I take this blur tool, and I run it over her eye a little bit. And again, my computer is so slow, but I think you can see how it looks very out of focus now. So it's softened that up. The opposite would be the sharpen tool. Looks like a triangle. And if we bring that over this eye, you can see how it's sharpening it. It's really making it pop. So a lot of times in portraits, we do like to maybe sharpen up the eyes, maybe the teeth a little bit. Okay, that's too sharp. I think you can see that her makeup looks like it's metallic and going to fall off her face. But the difference between the blur and the sharpen tool should be quite obvious at this point. I'm going to, wow, I just keep adding to it slowly but surely. The smudge tool I'm going to leave out. I'm going to show you another way of achieving that with a different tool in a later chapter. But if we go down one more set of tools, we have another family that I wanted to share with you, specifically dodge and burn. This goes back to the days of film processing in a dark room, where they would shine a light down on the paper after it had been exposed to the chemicals, and the light would burn in to make the picture darker, or if it didn't get light, it would be a lighter part. So the dodge and burn tool basically behave like that. They lighten up an area or they darken an area. So the first one I'm using is the dodge tool, and that's going to make things brighter. Now there are a lot of other ways of doing this that are probably better, but just to show you how it works, I'm going to use the dodge tool in this part of her hair. And of course, it's taking forever. There we go. I think you saw the change. Again, if I undo, that's before. And trying to do a redo. There we go. This tool is kind of like an airbrush in that the more you use it, the effect builds up. So I am brightening her hair by dodging it. I'm bringing out the brightness in it. The opposite of that is the burn tool. So if you ever want to kind of darken up an area, it's maybe too bright, you would switch tools here and go with the burn tool. Again, I'm going to make my cursor bigger, and I'll show you the top of her hair here. I'm going to try to use this burn tool. Wow, okay, I definitely burned that. But you can see how it's darkening up the areas that I'm driving over, whereas this was brightening. So dodge and burn are two additional tools. The last one I want to show you, I'm actually just going to take that whole layer and dump it. I'm going to drag it down to the trash. And I just want to show you one last technique, which is for brightening teeth. And we're going to start by zooming in on her teeth so that we have a nice, good view. And the first thing that we want to do is select her teeth. So the quick selection tool, if you remember from a week or two ago, is probably going to be our best option. So we're going to take this quick selection tool. We're going to make our cursor. I don't know, that seems like a reasonable size to me. And remember, as you're holding down, you're adding to the selection. So I'm going to quickly kind of drive over her teeth. Oh, this stinking computer. You are seeing the marching ants right away, unlike me. I'm waiting and waiting. Come on. There we go. Keep going. Keep going. Oh dear. The scary thing is, yeah, because I'm holding down, I don't know when it's going to stop. If you have a live view, it's much safer. Okay, with the quick selection tool, we're selecting her teeth. Then we're going to want to clean up that selection, meaning I want to add some of the darker parts of her teeth. So with a small brush size, I'm going to go down here to add to the selection. And where it got to be too big, I'm going to take away from the selection. So I'm going to be holding the Option key, and when I do that, it turns into a minus sign, and I'm going to kind of push from the outside inward on our marching ants right here to push those back. Now, if this were real life and I had a computer that wasn't being powered by evidently mice and gerbils inside there running on their wheel, I don't know, this is crazy. This should not take this long. And you would do a very thorough job of selecting her teeth. But at this point, when I do get my cursor back, we're going to move ahead. All right, I'm going to assume that I'm comfortable with this selection. I'm not, but I'm going to pretend I am. Like I don't want her gums selected right there, and I probably want more of these teeth. But for now, it's reasonable. What I'm going to do before we move on is I'm going to do a select, and then we're going to choose modify, and we're going to expand this selection a little bit by a pixel or two. We don't want a really hard line, so whatever we're going to do to this is going to be inside the marching ants, and we kind of want to bump it out maybe by 1 or 2 pixels. I'm going to see what a 1 pixel does. A little bit better. All right, now comes the magic. We have our teeth selected, but what we want to do is go to our layers panel. And within our layers panel, we want to do a add adjustment layer. We want to come down to this button, and we want to choose a hue saturation adjustment. Now, because we had our teeth selected, it masked out everything but the teeth when it made that adjustment layer of hue saturation. So right now when we play with our sliders up here, we are only affecting the teeth, nothing else, because everything else is masked out. So the thing that makes teeth look funky usually is that they're yellowish. So we want to come, instead of being in the, in the master, we want to come down to the yellow channel. And from here, we want to desaturate the yellows a little bit. So you're going to get a little bit of a preview as you pull out some of the yellow in her teeth. Do not come all the way down to the point where the yellow is pulled out and they almost look wooden. And don't go the other way and give her Cheeto teeth. So we're taking the yellow saturation and we're pulling it down enough to get rid of that yellow color cast. Then we're going to go back to our master. We don't want to be in a specific channel of color. And we're going to come to our lightness slider and we're going to bump it up a little bit. And again, be careful. We're not giving her chiclets. And we're also, do you see how my selection isn't so great? Where I can see where I've got gum in here or I forgot teeth here. We have to be really aware of that. So a little bit of a bump is going to help. And or you need to go in and tweak your mask as well. So if we wanted to come to our mask again, and if we option click on the mask, that's actually what we have masked out. So we would know that maybe we need to paint with white a little bit more here. Or we could come back to this view, but working on our mask, we could paint with black right here to hide her gums, and we could paint with white where we want this effect to show up. But if we turn the eyeball on and off right here, that's before, and here's after. So with a better selection and a better mask, you can tell that this can be a pretty simple process of brightening teeth. So that's it for what's in our book. I'm going to show you some additional videos on editing and talk about some projects and homework in the next videos.